All right, so here we are in the Blackboard site. The first thing that I hope that all of us did before our session today is we clicked on this area right here called Start Here. The Start Here menu has a little bit of information about me. What might be most helpful for you in this information about me is my email address right here at the top. So whenever you have questions, please feel free to reach out via email, especially if you have a question and it's not one of my office hour times. So always feel free to email me. There's my email address. We are in a class that is supported by what's called a supplemental instructor. This is a student who took the class in the past, did quite well in it, and now she kind of acts like a peer tutor for you guys. So her name is Elise, and she is excellent. She's going to get some sessions scheduled each week so that in addition to the class times I'm spending with you guys, you will also have the opportunity to get together virtually with Elise, and she can help you with your questions. She's going to have great learning activities. Definitely take advantage of this supplemental instruction, or you'll hear me sometimes reference it, call it SI, supplemental instruction. So more information coming about this as we get some sessions scheduled with Elise. At TCC, for whatever reason, they call the syllabus that you use for your courses, they call it the ICR. Let me just show you guys really fast. The instructor course resources is what you'd see it posted as in WebAdvisor. There's only a few places on this document that I think you might want to make sure you focus on. The first one to make sure you focus on is the required resources for our class. I would not recommend purchasing a textbook. We didn't have a required textbook for the course, and I'm never really going to ask you to do readings out of the textbook that are different from the resources I provide to you. So what I would recommend here at the beginning of the class, here is a web link directly to our course textbook. You can access it for free online. If you find yourself throughout the first few weeks of class using the textbook regularly, then go ahead and buy it. My guess would be most of us won't be using the textbook because we've got other resources to use. But again, if you're one of the people that the textbook is really helpful for you, please go ahead and buy it. But I would recommend buying it from Amazon because they print it in color. The school bookstore doesn't print it in color. So keep that in mind if you are planning to use the textbook regularly. Either use it online, or I would recommend Amazon for that. There's no textbook that you need for our lab class. What you have for lab class is going to be printed worksheets that you'll have to print yourself at home. So worksheets for you to fill in. There's also going to be similar worksheet type things, or I call them lesson outlines, for our lecture lessons. So something I mentioned this morning, and I'll highlight it again here this evening. Honestly, the thing that I think it'd be most helpful for you to buy to succeed in this class is a printer. If you don't have a printer at home, go ahead and buy one. Pretend that you bought a textbook and that textbook is actually a printer, because you're going to have a lot of things that I think it's really going to benefit you to print. So lecture outlines are one thing you'll want to print. Those worksheets for lab are another thing that you're going to print. Don't have to print them in color. If you have a color printer, that's great, but you don't have to. I will not be collecting either of these resources. They are simply for you to study from. But again, having a printer to be able to fill them in like you would fill them in if we were in a class together will be very helpful. Since this is an online class, the one new piece of technology you're going to need to have at your access is a webcam. When we take exams, this is lecture exams and lab exams, we're using a proctoring service called Proctorio. So during a lecture exam, Proctorio is going to record you taking that exam to make sure that we don't have resources out that we're not supposed to, that we're not using our phone or talking to someone else. Proctorio will have that recording going on during the entire exam. So if you don't have a webcam yet, go ahead and work on getting one. Our first exam is in, I think, let's see, I got a calendar on my wall, 4 weeks. So by 4 weeks from today, we do need to have a webcam. I got the question this morning, does the camera that's built into a computer count? Yes, that's totally fine. Yeah, so that popped actually in the the chat over there was, can we use the webcam in your computer? Absolutely. So you may want to play with it. I typically set up for my students a practice exam. I put exam in quotes here because it's not content related at all. It's just a practice activity for you to click on to make sure that your Proctorio, which is our proctoring service, is working. I'll make sure that on that practice activity, it does ask you to turn on your camera so that you can get an idea of whether or not it's working. And I'll post this later as well. If you don't have a webcam and you're not going to be able to get one, TCC does have some technology that they are making available for students to check out for the semester. So I'll show you the place in Blackboard where if you don't have a camera, if you don't have a computer that will work well enough for these kinds of things, TCC might be able to get you one. So I'll show you where that form is. So big thing from this section, please make sure that you have a webcam, and please also make sure that you have stable internet access, especially for exams. If your internet dies during an exam, it's actually going to kick you out of the exam. So please plan to have stable internet. Typically that means you're plugged into the wall to get your internet connection to be strong. Plan to have that. My running gag will be starting with you guys because this happened this morning. Usually at least once per session, my computer is going to die. So just be aware that if my internet dies, because for whatever reason it gets real dicey sometimes, I will always come back for you. I love you guys too much. So, but if that happens exam, it's going to kick me out of the exam and say I'm done. So please make sure that your internet is stable, especially for those exams when you're taking them. Let's scroll down here. Next section talks a little bit about what you need to do to succeed in the class. I've created a document for you in Blackboard that kind of expands on these things a little bit more, but just a few things to mention for you. Please make sure you stay on top of course deadlines. We have lecture and lab assignments that are going to be due pretty much every Friday and every Sunday. So I want to make sure you're not doing all of your classwork on Sunday. So we divided up dates Friday and Sunday. If you miss a due date, I generally don't reopen things because at the end of the semester, I'm going to be dropping a couple of the assignments. So if you miss a lecture assignment, if you miss a lab assignment, it'll stay in the gradebook as a 0, but at the end of the semester, I'm going to drop those grades out of the calculation and you will see your grade go up for that. With our exams, I'll mention it up front that we take a cumulative final exam, meaning it covers the topics from the entire semester, but it's not all of the content from the entire semester. If you do better on that cumulative final exam than you did on one of the normal lecture exams, at the end of the semester, I will replace your lower regular lecture exam score with that. And just to clarify, because I got this question a lot with my summer students, yes, the lecture final exam is required for everyone. If you don't take the exam, your grade will drop by about 10%. So plan to take the lecture final exam. I know some classes don't require it. Unfortunately, my class does. So you will have to take that lecture final. Let me ask a question really fast. So underneath the screen here, help me out. How many of you have joined GroupMe? Just curious to see how many of us that are here in class, does that sound at all familiar that you joined your class's GroupMe? Raise your hand for me, or I see a couple of us that are lighting it up in the chat. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys during our session today where to find your class's GroupMe. Olivia asked if we need the app. I don't think you need the app. I think you just need to have an account, possibly. I think you can do it through the computer, actually. I'm not super familiar with GroupMe, full disclosure here. I just create the groups for you guys and then I peace out and I'm never in them. So I'll show you where to find that link. And if we continue to having troubles, because I know Nicole said she was having a little bit of trouble with it, maybe at the end of class today, we can try to troubleshoot it together, see if we can get that up there. But basically GroupMe, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, GroupMe is basically like if you were in class with your people and you exchange numbers with them to make a big group chat. This is how you exchange numbers with your classmates without actually giving them your phone number. So nobody gets your real phone number, but you can text your classmates at 2 in the morning and say, wait, which assignment is due at the end of the day today? Or ask them, hey, this particular question on the exam, I can't see why I keep, or not on the exam, excuse me. Don't exchange information about the exams. This particular question on the assignment, I keep getting wrong. Can someone help me with it? Those kinds of questions you can text out to your classmates. There's a much greater chance that they will be up at 2 in the morning than me. Although I will say that that recently my 2-month-old, he was giving me 6 or 8 hour stretches in the night, and now we're back to like 4-hour stretches. So I might be up at 2 in the morning, but I'm not part of your groups. So I will not be seeing what's going on in the group me, but it's a great way for you guys to chat with each other. I will address the scheduling question, Karina, toward more the end of today's session. But it'll be, I'm meeting this week at 9:30. We'll have a session at 9:30. Grading information here, just to summarize it for you, the main ways you're going to earn your grade in lecture is from the exams that we're taking, and then we're doing a lot of different homework assignments and written projects. So I will show you what assignments look like and what those projects look like. Together, those are 50% of your grade, and then the other 50% comes from those exams. Your lab grade also factors into your course grade overall. We take 2 exams in lab, a midterm and a final, and then we also have homework assignments in Blackboard and Visible Body. So just a reference for you of where your grades come from. And I mentioned it before, but the assignments that we're completing in the class, it's pretty much always either going to be due Friday night before midnight or Sunday night before midnight. So keep burn those dates in the back of your mind. Everything I'm turning in is probably either due on Friday night or Sunday night. That's for lecture and for lab. I don't think, check to make sure. I think that's everything in the course syllabus to mention for you. So I'll show you again. We looked through the syllabus. Go back to Blackboard. We just looked at, let me make it a little bit bigger for you. We just clicked right here. So we looked at the course syllabus together. If you have not already downloaded and printed this right here, the assignment checklist, that needs to be top of your to-do list for what you are doing when we're done with our session today. Let me show you why. I'm going to pull that up for you. This assignment checklist, and I'll try to zoom in. There we go. Okay. This assignment checklist is going to show you what you have due for lecture and what you have due for lab each week. So here we are in week 1. The first day that we have something due in week 1 is this Friday. So this Friday, you need to have the first round of visible body assignments completed. There are 2 visible body assignments that you have to have done by 11:59 on Friday. Then we have a whole bunch of assignments that are due Sunday at 11:59. So that's your first lecture lessons homework. That is an application assignment for lesson number 1 that's about brown fat and white fat. And then you're doing your first written group assignment, which is the Introduction to Group Wikis assignment. You also have your first lab assignment due. Now, I got some emails asking about this. Is it okay if I work ahead on assignments? 100%, that's totally fine. And please do, because you don't know what's going to happen Sunday afternoon. Maybe you end up having to watch kids, or maybe you aren't feeling so great and you're really tired. If you've worked ahead on assignments, that's 100% fine. I have some students who've actually worked all the way through lesson 1 and lesson 2. You can do as much as you want to, or you can track with us right on time and plan to finish up all of this work on Sunday night. I don't care. When you go through, so maybe in the next couple of days, you're going to go through and finish those visible body assignments. Once you've completed those, this is literally a checklist. So put a little check, put a little dash, something to help you know this one's done. When you go through and you do the lesson 1 homework and that's done, put a little dash. We know it's done. Literally, this is designed to be a checklist for you, so you can mark it and have a visual representation of What do I need to get done? When does it need to get done by? So if you print nothing else for our class, this is something that I strongly recommend that you print to make sure that you're staying on top of things. Let me check up here. Yeah, so Nicole answered Olivia's question for us. We're in the start here area called the assignment checklist. So I'm glad that we found that. Karina asked about which one is the group assignment. So the ones that are blue, color-coded blue, those will be the group assignments. So the first group assignment that's due this Sunday is your introduction to group wiki assignments. So I'll tell you, this one's super easy. Like, you could go log on and do it right after class is done. I'm just basically asking you, I'm trying to remember all of our questions. What experience do you have with online classes is one of them. I ask you, why are you taking this class? And then I ask how your life has changed since the pandemic started. So super easy subjective questions here on the first one, just to make sure you know where to find the wikis and how to complete them. This exam number 1 group wiki, and then we also have, if we scroll down a little bit farther, an exam number 2 group wiki, and we also have exam 3 and the final exam group wikis. Those actually start to be content wikis. But this first one up here that we're completing by Sunday is not content based. It's just let's get to know our classmates and let me get to know you. So group assignments always color-coded in blue. Our lesson homework assignments always coded in green. And then application type assignments, you're going to see here in the pink color. So the color coding kind of gives you an idea of what kind of assignment it is, in case you print in color. If not, this sheet is still going to help you 100% stay on track with your due dates. Glad to hear that's helpful, Olivia. I think it helps students a lot. It helped me a lot when I was building the course to make sure everything was there. So again, let me show you where this came from. This is called the assignment checklist. We're in the start here area of Blackboard, course calendar, and assignment checklist. So we just looked at the assignment checklist. I'll mention for you, there's also the course schedule down here, or the course calendar, whatever you want to call it. This gives you an idea for each of the weeks of our class, which of those guided lessons should you be working on. So for example, here we are in week 1. You should be working on lesson number 1 called Anatomy versus Physiology. And this lecture schedule also lists for you what are the assignments that are related to this content, or in the case of this introduction to group wiki, it's just what assignments come due while you're working on this lesson. So during this week in class, here's all the things over here in the related assignments. That's all the things that you're going to be working on this week, and you're covering lesson number 1. Starting next week, you're going to be lesson number 2, and that's called Introduction to the Cell. For lesson number 2, 2 homework assignments that we have to complete. So the regular lesson homework, and then also an application activity. So this one is maybe a little less important for you to print, but if you want another quick reference guide to get an idea of what we're covering each week in class, what your lessons will be about, here is a breakdown for you of the lecture schedule that gives you an idea of that. So there's a question about the group projects. The question is, if a classmate happens to not do their part, what goes on with that? So if we come to the due date and there are questions that are still blank on your assignment, I do ask that you and your group members step up to fill in the missing questions. I get that that is extra work above and beyond the normal assignment. So if you find that you have a group member who does not answer their 3 questions, for example, that they need to on the assignment, and you and your group mates each answer an extra question, you will receive a little bit of extra credit for doing that, assuming your answers are correct for your questions. I do, like I said, I recognize that it's extra work to do extra questions. So to Cindy's question, if someone doesn't fill in their parts on the assignment, please do go in and go ahead and answer those extra questions. You will get extra credit for that extra work, because I know that that's not fair to get penalized for someone not doing their part. Olivia asked if we have already been put into groups. Yes, you have, and I'll show you where those groups are here in a moment. And then the other question is, if someone answers a question wrong, do we all get points taken off? You do want to check each other's answers. That's why we're doing group projects, is to try to check each other. You may get a small deduction if the answer is egregiously wrong and it's obvious that just reading through it's not correct. Do go ahead and make some corrections. I will be able to see the work that you've done on your group members' questions. So if somebody just completely answered their question incorrectly and you went in and saved it, again, that would be another situation where you probably would get a little bit of extra credit if it was completely wrong and you fixed it. So when they're due, let's see if I still have it up here. Yeah, so notice how your first content wiki is due the Sunday night right before the exam. If you log in Monday morning, first thing, and there's some questions that are still blank on your group's wiki, go ahead and answer them. Again, if you answer them, that's a potential for extra credit for you. If you're going to make corrections to other people's work though, please do that before the due date. So by Sunday night on this first wiki, be perusing your group's wiki page at 9 at night on Sunday. Read what your classmates have written. If there's something that needs to get added, you can add a quick note. You will have the ability to email your classmates as well. So if we're getting to Saturday late in the day and there's someone who hasn't contributed, you can send them an email and say, hey, remember our group wiki? Or if you read somebody's answer and it looks like they completely missed the question, you can send them a quick email and say, hey, we might want to look at that answer. There's some stuff that might be missing. Any edits that you need to make for a group member missing their part though, you can complete those after the due date on the assignment. But it needs to be like Monday morning, because I'm going to start grading them. They're due Sunday night. I'm going to start grading them Monday. So make sure that we get all of the questions answered. And again, if you're doing extra work because a group member is not contributing, I do see that, and that is worth a little bit of extra credit, because it's not fair for me to ask you to do more work than another group. All right, so these exam dates are published for you, highlighted here in yellow. As a heads up, exams open up Monday morning at 12:01 in the morning. If you want to stay up Sunday night into Monday, they're going to stay open until 11:59 on Tuesday. So the one time that we defy the rule that everything is due on Fridays or Sundays is when we take exams. Lecture exams are always due by Tuesday night at 11:59. Otherwise, these other homework assignments, you can find each of them on that assignment checklist to see their exact due date. So let me go back to Start Here. This is the place we were at in the Start Here folder, course calendar and assignment checklist. Absolutely, you're going to want to download these and print these to help you stay on top of things. The other one that you're at least going to want to read is the document right underneath it called So You're Taking Online Anatomy. I'll show it to you. I'm not going to walk through the entire document. This is a little more specific than the course syllabus to answer some of the common questions you might have about our online course. Just a couple of them I want to emphasize for you. You should expect to or plan to spend up to 20 hours a week working on our class. That includes any of these office hour sessions that you're attending, and that includes your study time, you're working through those lessons, doing the homework, those kind of things. It may not take you 20 hours in 1 week to get things done. It might take you more than 20 hours in another week. But generally, based on the fact that this is a science class, expect there to be you to spend quite a bit of time on this class. And if we were on site, you'd be spending just as much time as well. So keep that in mind. This is kind of a time-intensive class. Best way to reach me outside of office hours is always email. I'm going to do my best to stay on top of email. And I did mention GroupMe to you guys. So I'm going to show you where GroupMe is. That's a great way to get a faster answer to your questions sometimes. So join that GroupMe and either download that app, or you can actually have it send you texts to your phone, like regular texts as well. So great way, like I said, to get fast answers to things. Little bit of information about how we cover things in our class. So I'll leave that to you for reading. They're on page 2. But I do want to mention, let me scroll down here, the breakdown of the grading scale for the class. So 70%, you get 1 grade for anatomy and physiology. 70% of that's coming from the stuff we do for lecture. 30% of that comes from what we do in lab. So lecture exams and assignments, as you can see over here on the left, that's the breakdown of your grade. And over here on the right, the 2 types of homework assignments that we have for lab, ones that are in Blackboard and the ones that are in Visible Body, and then those 2 lab exams. I know that it's the worst if at the end of the semester you have an 89.6 and you don't get an A for that. So I do round up at 89.5 to get an A. I round up at 79.5 to get a B, and I round up at 69.5 to get a C. That being said, if you have a 69.43, that is not a 69.5, and I'm not going to round you up. So we are aiming for a 70%, or we're aiming for an 80% or a 90%, but know that you have a little bit of wiggle room here at the end in terms of the points. Other than that, we already mentioned the webcam, so make sure you have a webcam, like is highlighted here. Make sure that you have a printer, if at all possible. That would be very helpful for you. I'm going to go back to Blackboard. That's everything in that document, so please do read that document. I think it will be very helpful for you. If you don't have a webcam or you don't have a computer available to you because there are kids at home using your computer, this is a link posted for you in Blackboard to get on the waiting list or to request a device from TCC. So if you anticipate you're going to have issues with technology, click here after class today, fill out this form, and let's see if we can't get you some technology to help you out and help you succeed in the class. And this last part down here at the bottom is a link to GroupMe. So where this link will take you is a place to create a GroupMe account. Once you have an account and you're logged in and you click on here again, it'll get you joined to our classes group. So again, this is the way that you connect with your classmates. I know we don't get to be together in class to connect with each other, but GroupMe is a great way to do that outside of class. Before I move on, let me pause and give you a chance to ask questions. You can either type me a question, or if you would rather speak it into your microphone, you can raise your hand for me and we can ask that question. Somebody has a question. Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to say your name wrong. Let me try, and I apologize in advance. Tehrani, is that right? Or close? I may have completely butchered it. I see Tehrani's hand and I see somebody else's hand, but I don't see a name. Go for it, whoever raised their hand for a question.
It's Tierney.
Tierney. Okay, I apologize. I will get it right now. I will not get it wrong. Thank you for correcting me, Tierney.
I was trying to access even the Visible Body courseware and all that. It's not allowing me to do so.
Okay.
And the, yes. Okay.
Okay. So we'll look at Visible Body together, and I'll see if I can get you a workaround. From that, we'll see how it goes when I try to access it from here, and maybe after class today, I can work with you too, see if we can figure it out for you. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Jesse has a hand up. Do you have a question, Jesse? Maybe it's up on accident. Yeah, I know I've got a lot of questions about Visible Body. We'll see if we can get those Visible Body questions answered today. Okay. So keep bringing in questions into the chat as you have them. I will keep addressing them, but just to mention for you, everything we looked at right now is in the Start Here area of the course Blackboard site. So please, if you haven't already looked at everything in this area, do go through and look at those resources. Next, we're going to go here to lecture resources. I've got a lot of questions about groups, so I will help you out with the groups thing because it'll show up here on lecture resources. Right now, we are in Unit 1 of our course. So when you click on our folder here for Unit number 1, it lists for you, or you can see in this table of contents over here, everything that you are doing in Unit number 1. So what I would recommend doing as you're starting to work on things for this course is go in order. So we want to start here with lesson number 1. It's where all the assignments due this week are from. It's from lesson number 1. So lesson number 1, notice that it tells you everything that we're doing for lesson number 1. It's all got to be wrapped up by Sunday. So first thing, if you look on your table of contents, first thing on the list is a summary. Every one of your lessons is going to have a summary, and it's going to list for you what you need to do to succeed in this particular unit. So for example, the first thing you're going to want to do is download your lesson outline. This is what, if we were in class together, this is what you would take notes on. Once you've downloaded that outline, you're going to want to use what's called the online guided learning activity for you to go through and fill in those blanks. Think of these online guided learning activities like if we were having a lecture together. This is what I would say to you. I just put it in a written format so you can read it at your own pace and use it to fill in the blanks in your lesson. Once you've filled in that lesson outline, then you're going to move on to your Blackboard assignment. So every single lesson is always going to have a Blackboard assignment. Sometimes there'll be an extra activity as well. So for example, here in lesson number 1, we are doing an activity that talks about the 2 types of fat in the body. That's brown fat and white fat, so the 2 kinds of fat. There's a sheet just like your lesson outline that you'll download and print, and you'll fill in that sheet by reading an article from a health website about the difference between brown fat and white fat. Once you've filled in your outline, again, we've got an assignment just like those assignments that we did for our lecture lesson. You'll have an assignment to do there as well. The final note that you'll see on this list for lesson number 1, I want to make sure you don't forget about your first group assignment. So that's listed here too. Now, if all of this is boring to you and you don't want to go through and read it, what I'll tell you is it's actually the exact same order of all of these things in my table of contents on the left. So the first actual thing I have right here is my outline for lesson number 1. If you click on this, this is what I mentioned you're going to want a printer for. You're going to want to print this because there's spaces like you see right here. In the space below, explain what anatomy is. Your guided lesson will tell you what anatomy is, and you'll summarize it here. And it gives you information about how I can use this picture of the abdominal pelvic cavity to study anatomy. And then there's a space here to explain what physiology is. Again, your guided lesson will give you the information you need to fill in these blanks. So this is your first lecture lesson. Notice there's lots of spaces here for you to write information in. That information is all going to come from those guided lessons. So please download the notes. That's the first thing to do, is download this outline, print it out, and then start filling it out just like you would if we were doing a lecture class together. So there's your outline. We hit it right there, the lesson number 1 outline. Right underneath that is our online guided lesson. And the online guided lesson, like I mentioned for you, if we were in a lecture class together, this is all the stuff that I would be saying to you. So when we start the lecture, here we are at the beginning, we're taking an anatomy and physiology course. And notice how this lines up with that outline that I showed you guys. Because check it out, the first thing I see here is that anatomy is the study of structures in the body and the way those structures relate to each other. That was the first question on our lesson outline. So there's the answer for ourselves. One of the other questions on there is how I could use this image that I see here of the abdominal pelvic cavity, how I can use that to do anatomy. Well, there's a description right here that explains that. We scroll down, same kind of thing here with physiology. And as you go through this guided learning activity, it gives you information that will help you to fill in those blanks on your notes packet. You'll also see throughout several of these learning activities little practice questions. These questions are not graded. You're not going to get credit or lose credit for getting them wrong, but these questions are a way for you to quiz yourself to make sure you're understanding content. Because if you pick an answer that's wrong right after you've worked through this course material, maybe we need to go back and check on something to make sure that we understand it better. Something we're thinking is not correct. So look for these little practice questions. They're quick ways for you to test yourself to make sure that you're understanding the important ideas. And again, you'll use these guided lessons to help you fill in the blanks in those outlines. Outlines like this one right here. So in the first lesson, you're going to talk about bones, you're going to talk about teeth, you're going to talk about joints. I mentioned this morning and want to make sure that I emphasize it here. This list of learning objectives that you'll find at the beginning of every lecture, and you'll find them actually at the beginning of every lab packet as well. Think about this as your study guide for each exam. Now, every single lecture outline is going to start with what I call a define learning objective. A defined learning objective does not mean that on the exam, I'm going to ask you to write me a definition for anatomy. I'm never going to ask you to tell me what anatomy is. But I am going to write my test questions assuming that you know what anatomy is. So for example, I might have a list of 5 statements on the exam, and I might ask you to tell me which of these statements represents anatomy, not physiology. You would have to know what anatomy is, and you would have to know what physiology is to be able to answer that question. So please don't, here's the big idea with this defined learning objective. Please don't make yourself flashcards that have the definitions of all of the terms in here. Make sure that you can explain them, or make sure you understand what a sinusoid is. Because when I write a test question and I mention the word sinusoid, I'm going to assume that you know what a sinusoid is. So don't spend too much time memorizing definitions. These are all words that come from each of the learning objectives that you see down below here. So really, if you're assembling a study guide, this is the way you want to organize your information in the terms of these learning objectives. But again, don't spend hours upon hours memorizing definitions. I will not ask you that on the exams. I will get to your question, Olivia, about brown fat versus white fat. Lauren has a question. Go for it, Lauren. Oh, maybe she's going to type it for me. Or you're welcome to turn on your mic, Lauren, if you'd like to.
I'm probably just going to type it. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to say it out loud or just type it. That's totally fine. So when it pops up, I will answer it for you. Okay, so let's go back to Blackboard. Here's where we are so far. So far, we found our lesson number 1 outline. We found our guided learning activity to help us with filling in that outline. Now we get to the homework assignment. That's the next thing on my checklist here. So I've completed the outline. I've studied it. Now I'm ready to start working on the homework. Let me see how this does since I'm a previous student here. Okay, notice that this assignment, you are allowed to do this multiple times. You're actually allowed to do this as many times as you'd like to. I'm going to keep your score from the highest scoring attempt. So between now and next Sunday at midnight, you can complete this lesson 20 times, or you can complete it once. I don't care. Complete it at least once. When you go into this assignment, okay, yep, ignore this 3 attempts thing. That is an error. So you have unlimited attempts on this assignment. Yeah, so Vanessa's saying that the brown fat, white fat says 3 attempts too. Ignore the 3 attempts. It is unlimited. Everything is unlimited options this semester. I don't know how many of us are Aladdin fans. Do I have any Aladdin fans in class with me? In the back of my mind, I'm hearing Genie saying unlimited power. So and itty bitty leaving space. That's what popped into my head. So unlimited attempts, unlimited power. That's what you got assignment. So ignore this little 3 attempts thing. That is an error. I apologize. Okay, so for these homework assignments, there are a couple of different formats you're going to see. You're going to see a whole lot of these ones here that have a little drop-down box. So on these drop-down boxes, you just pick what you think the right answers are. Notice that it's saving those answers for me. You always want to make sure that you see that it marks as saved. If for some reason it didn't save it, you can just click the box as well to save your answers. So you can go through and pick. Actually, I'm not going to do this on all of them. That's going to take too much. Sometimes you're going to see a question like this one that says select all of the statements. Ooh, I just highlighted. Sorry. Select all of the statements that are physiology. Remember I mentioned we could have that kind of question, physiology versus anatomy. Notice that it says do not select any that are incorrect. So on questions like this, you want to select as many answers are correct and skip any answers that are incorrect. Then we're going to save our answer. Yeah, like I mentioned, there's going to be a whole lot of these little drop-down questions. So once I think I'm done on this assignment, I will go ahead and submit it. Now, obviously, I skipped a bunch, right? So I'm going to bomb out on this assignment. I want to submit my assignment. As soon as you submit your assignment, it's going to tell you that it's submitted. I can click OK to review my results. Here's my little OK down here. I'm going to see how I did. I'm going to be really sad, right? Okay, so the first question, notice how I've got a little percentage right here. Percentage means that I got partial credit on this assignment. I got 1 out of 1.5 points. So here's where I'm going to make you do a little bit of math. You got 1 out of 1.5 points. That's 66% or 1/3 of the points for that. That means that, or 2/3, excuse me. That means that one of my 3 answers here, something is incorrect. So I'm going to want to go back with my lecture outline, and I'm going to want to compare each of these sentences and figure out, okay, which one did I mark incorrectly? I know that I got 2/3 correct. 2 of these 3 are right. 1 of these is wrong. Let's see if I can figure out which one is wrong. Go down here again. I got 0.5 out of 3.5. So I got a lot wrong on this one. I got something right, but not very much right on this one. So I'm going to go down and look at my question here and figure out, compare it to my notes, which ones were right, which ones were wrong. This one right here, notice how I got an X. I got that completely wrong. So everything I did in here is completely wrong. So the feedback, I actually should have answered one of the questions correctly. If you get a question correct, you're going to see a little green check mark here, and you'll see that your number of points on that question is full credit. So if I got this one right, I'd see 2 points out of 2 and a little green check mark. I would know that that one is correct. So I can use that to check myself on this assignment to see what I got right and what I got wrong. Because it is unlimited attempts, once I have an idea of what I got right and got wrong, I can go in and I can take it again. But here's the thing you need to keep in mind. When you complete the assignment again the next time, there's a very good chance you are not going to have the exact same questions. I had some students email me over the summer when they were taking the class with me, and they said, oh my gosh, I didn't pay attention and I didn't fix my answers from what was right before to what's right now. So you do need to watch that to make sure that you're actually reading your questions, because it could be that one right here, the question said, your first question asked you about the kind of joint at the elbow. It could be on your next attempt at the exam, the first blank on your questions actually asks you about the joint between the skull bones. So please don't just take a picture of all of your answers and assume it's going to be the same. We do have to read our questions each time to make sure we're getting it right. But again, you can complete this assignment as many times as you want, and that gives you the opportunity to get the most credit possible on the assignment. Yeah, so someone's saying that happened to them today, that they went in a different time and it was a different set of questions. Absolutely. Okay, nice. Somebody's mentioning there is a Blackboard app that is helpful. Go for it. Let's see. Go up here. I know that I got. Oh, nice. So Lauren put in a study strategy for us here that I really like. This is great, Lauren. Thanks for typing it for me. So the lesson number 1 that you guys are working on is called anatomy versus physiology. So she said the way that she remembers the difference between them is that anatomy starts with an A. So anatomy is where things are at, starting with an A. And then physiology with a F starts as the same as function, which also starts with that. So yeah, that's 100% correct, Lauren. I love that. and I'm totally going to steal that. So you get credit this semester, and I will give you credit in future semesters. Anatomy, where it's at. Physiology, the function. That's perfect. And by the way, things like that, you can totally send them to your classmates in GroupMe. That's great study things like that. I love that. So that's perfect. Yeah, go Lauren. Yeah, props to Lauren for that awesome one. That's going to be a great way to remember things. Let me mention something too about these assignments before I back out of it. So when I finish this assignment, I can go through and I looked at my feedback here to see which ones I got right and wrong, or to figure out which ones I got right and wrong. When I go down here to the bottom, this attempt is going to go away. I am a preview user, so I don't think that I can actually do this, but when you guys are in your accounts, when you are taking an assignment over here on my grades, I'm pretty sure it's going to freak out if I click here, so I can't click here. But if you click here, it's going to pull up the gradebook for you. You can always go back and click on your score for lesson number 1 and get back to that feedback screen. So if you want to compare your answers again, do it there. You'll click on my grades, you'll go to the feedback section, click on the score, and it'll pop it back up for you so you can review it. So you can do this as many times as you want to. I'm keeping that highest scoring attempt, and it's a great way to practice. So all of that is for lesson number 1. Notice that the next thing on my line is what I mentioned to you guys, brown fat versus white fat. So now the next thing we want to do once we finish lesson number 1 is now we want to download this worksheet. So I'll show you guys this one. This worksheet, here's the web link to the article you guys are going to read, and you'll use this article to help you answer the questions that you see on this assignment. So this assignment is a little more open-ended than those lecture outlines. Once you've answered all of the questions using this website here, or you've also got a link for it right here. Might take me there. Yep. So here's the article that you're going to read. So what's the difference between brown fat and white fat? You'll use that in that worksheet there. Once you filled in the worksheet, I'll mention for you, there's a list of learning objectives. So this article will be included on the exam. Don't miss out on these learning objectives. When I finish the activity, here is my homework assignment. And this homework assignment is just like that lesson number 1 homework assignment. So we'll pull it up. I can do this as many times as I want to. It's just got to be done by Sunday. So again, we'll go in here. Here, let me actually get a question right. Brown and white. I'm going to submit one. And I'm going to fail this assignment. But it's a good thing I got multiple attempts, right? Okay, here we go. Notice I got this question correct. There's my little green check mark. I got that one right. I got 1 out of 1. So now I know that I've answered one question correctly. So as a heads up, here's what the question said. I can see it right here. Here's what I put in those blanks, brown and white. And down here where it says answers, this is all of the options. What could I have put in there? Here's those options that I could have put in there. So you can see down here, here's the questions, all of them that I didn't answer. So I've got none given in here. Here were my options for what I could have put in there. So that's how you interpret these things. I don't know if Olivia is asking if you got the answer that I put in there. I promise you're going to be able to get it. If you didn't get my right answer, I promise you'll be able to find it in the article. It's really easy. So big versus little of fat droplets. Here's a real big fat droplet, and here's some little fat droplets. I promise you'll find that like word for word in the assignment. That one's real easy. So, all right, let's go back to our list here. We are through all of the normal learning activities for the week. The last thing that's on here is a link to the group assignments. So for group assignments, you have been assigned to your unit number 1 groups already. So the groups are already there. When you click right here to launch it, and again, I'm going to show you it in a different way because it's going to freak out if I go here. If I click here, it's going to take me to the groups area of Blackboard. you're going to click on unit number 1 group, and it's going to have a number after it. Maybe your group number 9, group number 2, group number 7. So unit number 1, group number whatever. When you click on your group, you're looking for an area of the group called Group Wiki. Once you go in there, you'll answer your questions there. So let me go out of the preview really fast, and I am going to show you, do a little black magic here. This is going to look a little different than your page. When you click on groups, you are going to see this. I don't know if any of my friends here, maybe, is anybody in this group? Did I see Aaron? I might have seen Aaron. When you click on your link to the group, you will see a page that looks like this. It'll have your name and your other group members' names listed there. It's going to say unit number 1 groups, and then you'll have a number back here. So I click on that link to the groups. Where we're going to go to enter our answers is right here. Yeah, Ymir was here this morning. Yep. So we click on Group Wiki right here. Group Wiki. Notice that, oh, look at that. Ymir has also already gone in and answered questions. So you click on Group Wiki, and you will see, if no one in your group has answered anything, you'll just see blanks in here. So I'm logging in. It's my turn to edit the wiki. So I'm going to click up here at the top. See how it says Edit Wiki Content. When I click on here, the first thing you're going to want to do, and the directions remind you of this, is you're going to want to change your color. So up here, there's this nice little T. You can pick any color. Please don't pick yellow. That's really hard for me to read. But you can pick any of the colors that are on here that are readable. So you'll pick your color. You will type your name on whatever line. So we'll pretend I'm doing this. Dr. Allis is doing it. Oop, let's get my color back. Dr. Allis is going to be in pink. Now I'm going to go through. I'm going to put underneath Ymir's answers. I'm going to start answering myself for this one as well. Got to change my color again, right? Okay, there's my color. I am here because, can't spell. Okay, I've answered that question. Now I'm going to scroll down. Here's my next question. I would type in my answer again in my color, and then I go down to the very bottom, and I'm going to type in my answer in my color, etc. When you have put your answers in your color, which, let me remind you, here's that little T up here. So pick your color, and then make sure everything you type is in your color. Once you've done that, you'll click Submit, and it will save it. I'm not going to save my typing into this group wiki, so I'm going to cancel out right here. But again, the way that we got there so we could start putting in our information is we clicked on this edit part right here, edit wiki content. And we got to the wiki. Let me back up. Unit number 1, groups. Right down here, group tools. It'll say group wiki, and it'll say send email. That's where you're going to find that. For some of my friends in my classes, I accidentally left file exchange. Ignore that. We don't need it. Group wiki is what we're using. So Olivia is saying that hers didn't take her to the same page. So just make sure, the other way you can try is by clicking on group projects. If you don't want to access it through lecture, click on group projects, and then you'll click on your group, unit number 1 group. There's no group tools. Let's see, Olivia, are you in Dr. Adams' lab? Vanessa, I don't know the name of the group in GroupMe, but if you click on that link that I posted in Blackboard, you should be able to enroll in the group on GroupMe. It sounds like somebody was able to troubleshoot a little bit. But yeah, if we keep having trouble with the wiki, please let me know. Easiest way to get to it is either by clicking on group projects or by clicking on that link in lecture resources. So let me go back. Oops. Teaser for you of what's to come. Many units. All right, lecture resources. Okay, so we walked through everything in lesson number 1. All of this stuff needs to be done by Sunday at midnight. If you finish that early, then you can start working on lesson number 2. All of this stuff, some of this, so the lesson number 2 main activity is due next Friday. And the next Sunday, there's a water intoxication activity. And then I start to have links to remind you, hey, be thinking about the other group wiki assignment, the unit number 1 exam assignment. So that is accessible either from where it says group assignments. I'll just click on it to show you. You'd click to launch, or you can get it from over here on the group projects tab over here. So big idea with lecture. When in doubt, just work your way down this list. If I go in order on this list, I'm going to get through all the stuff that I need to cover in lesson number 1. And as long as I get to it by my due dates, that's how I find it. I did get an email, by the way. Somebody asked me, how do I find an assignment? This is the only way to find it. You have to find it in the table of contents here. I don't have a section that's specifically devoted to assignments, to links to those assignments. Cindy has a question. Go for it, Cindy.
So for our group wiki assignments, are we not going to receive a grade for it until all of our classmates, well, from our group, have submitted it, or is that going to be some other way?
So that's a great question. On the group wiki assignments and the one other written assignment that you guys are doing that's called current events in anatomy, let me click on that one. I have to grade those by hand. So I will start grading them usually after the due date. So you will not get a grade on those until the due date has passed, most likely, and I have gone through and graded them. So that is correct, that you will not see a grade on those until probably after the due date. Especially the group wiki, I'm not going to start grading that until all of your group mates have had a chance to answer. Yeah, so let me mention the other written assignment that you guys are completing. Over on the left-hand menu, there was this thing called Current Events in Anatomy. Each unit, including Unit 1, you are going to be completing a Current Events in Anatomy assignment. So I've described for you how this assignment works, but let me very briefly pull it up for you. Each time, let's see what window this goes to. Each unit, we need to read one current news article that relates to our class. We are going to summarize that article. So you can see the first space on your assignment paper here. You'll summarize that article. What did it say? You will relate it back to the course content that we've covered in class. And then you're going to pose a question for me that the article didn't answer. So for example, let's say that we read an article that talks about how blindness can lead to people having more depression. That's one of the articles that, or hearing loss can lead to more depression. That's an article that I have saved for you. You'd summarize the article here. When I talk about putting in specific facts that relate to the article, these do need to be very specific. So please don't tell me, for example, as fact number 1, the process of hearing. That's not a fact, that's a topic. A fact would be the process of hearing involves the external, middle, and internal ear. Or you could, another specific fact you could give me, don't tell me cranial nerves. That's a topic. I want you to tell me cranial nerve number 8 helps with hearing. So make sure when you're filling in this form that it is specific facts, not just topics, and make sure it's facts that came from our class, whether it's our lecture class or our lab class, not something that's in the article or not something you did a Google search for. If you start talking to me about the precingulate gyrus in the perifrontal lobe of the occipital cortex, I'm going to know that you just did a Google search for a fact, because we definitely didn't talk about that. So I'm not looking for super crazy information here. I'm looking for stuff from our class that relates to what you read. There was a great question, if I have the articles for you. Yes, I do. Let me find it. Too many tabs. Here we go. We just looked at the worksheet, what you'll be submitting to me each unit. Here is, I told you I'm a nerd, right? I'm here in a skeleton dress. So the first, let me go back while that loads. Here's a description of how to do the assignment. You can see it up here, very first thing in Current Events in Anatomy. Underneath it is a link to the article library. So when you click here, it's got all of the articles that I've saved literally over the course of years, different news articles for you. So what you need to do for each unit is you need to find an article that relates to that unit and you'll complete the assignment with it. Now to help you know what relates to this unit, let me go back to Blackboard. we've got this thing that's current events in anatomy, the article tags. This is a list of the topics that relate to each unit. So for unit number 1, we are looking for an article that either has a tag that says cells or tissues. These are the 2 topics from unit number 1 that there are articles related to. So if I go back to current events in anatomy, my articles list here, here's all those articles. Underneath the title of the article, there's these little boxes. See this one here that says integumentary system, here's muscles and genetics. We are in unit number 1, so our options were cells, or I'm blanking, it's gone now, cells or tissues. So I need to find an article that has a box that says cells or tissues. Here's your little cheater right here. See over on the right side where it says tags? Let me zoom in. Tags. When we get to the brain unit, it's listed for you right there. I need cells or tissues. If I click over here, it's going to give me the option of seeing what the articles there. So I want to look at cells. I'm interested in all the articles that are tagged with cells. There's an article tagged with cells. There's an article tagged with cells. So notice that now all of the ones I found here are ones that would relate to the class. So you would pick one of these articles. Maybe I want to read this one about sickle cell disease and CRISPR. So I can click on this article. I'll read the article and I'll go through then and summarize it and relate it to class. But again, I found an article that has a tag that's related to the unit I'm in. I don't want you for unit number 1 to do an article about the brain. The reason I don't want you to do that is because we don't have a lot of specific facts about the brain yet. So please stick with that list. Let me pull it back up for you one more time. The list of article tags is what it's called. Current events in anatomy article tags. For unit number 1, you're reading articles that say they're about cells or tissues. You're going to submit your article summary before exam number 1. Then before exam number 2, here's the list of all the options for article tags that I can use. Here's my list of options for unit number 3, lots of different article tags. So this helps you to make sure you pick an article that actually relates to what we just talked about in class. So this will help you hopefully ensure that you get full credit for your specific facts that you pick, because you need to have some specific facts to use. So let me go back to that area to show you. We've talked about the article library, which is where I looked for specific articles. We've talked about the list of tags to help me know how I pick the right one. And then we talked about the worksheet. You will download this worksheet and complete it for every unit. So rename it so that it says that it's unit number 1 or number 2 or number 3, so you don't submit to me the wrong article summary for the wrong unit in future times. You'll notice for each unit that the drop box for it will be labeled. This is unit number 1, current events in anatomy. This is due right before exam number 1. You can complete this assignment twice for each unit. That's how you get extra credit in my class, is doing extra article summaries. So we have to complete it at least once to get full credit on the assignment. If you complete it a second time with a different article, you can earn some extra credit, and that will help bolster your grade throughout the semester. So both of those submissions would go here into the unit number 1 Dropbox. After we take the first exam, you'll see a new Dropbox for unit number 2. So that's current events in anatomy. That's the assignment. It's like I said, it's a written assignment that you have the potential for extra credit. Yeah, Gloria is excited about the extra credit. So current events in anatomy. That's the last type of assignment that you're doing for me. I know we were all really interested in lab, and I am a little short on for lab. I'm so sorry. Let me give you the brief crash course, and we're going to come back together on Wednesday, and I promise we're going to like dive into to lab stuff hardcore on Wednesday. Olivia's asking mandatory or extra credit. You have to do at least 1 article summary. You can do 2 for extra credit. Yeah, so 1 required per unit, 2 for possible extra credit each unit. Crash course lab. First thing to mention, I don't know how many of you have taken classes, science classes on Northeast campus. If you have, you've probably heard of something called the Science Learning Center. This is a place where we've got a group of tutors who know anatomy and physiology, and they are available to help you out with the questions that you have. Since they are online, we can't meet in person with the tutors, but they've set up this awesome video. You'll find this link here in lab resources. This awesome video will show you how to access them. So please go to them with questions that you have too. They are a great resource and they can totally help you through things, including visible body. I'll toss that out there. They know about visible body too, and they'd be happy to help you. So make sure to check out the Science Learning Center. Lots of us had questions about visible body, and so I'm going to skip a couple of these resources here for a couple of different reasons. First reason, the student Google Drive used to be my hub where you went to download all of the things like the worksheets. We actually got those uploaded into Visible Body for you. So if you have any trouble getting into the Google Drive, don't fret, because you can find pretty much everything in Visible Body. So I'm going to skip this link for now. I will talk about it on Wednesday if we still have questions about it. I'm going to skip this link too. Aside from mentioning for you, if you have a worksheet printed and you don't want to go all the way into Visible Body to get your guided lab activity, these activities are going to be just like, so let me click here, it's like a whole lot like your lecture activities. So guiding you through, here's your learning objectives for lesson number 1 in lab. And there are the activities in the lab packet are numbered. So I can see this is number 1 in your lab packet, asking you about the functions of the organ systems. So there are resources compiled here to help you with the functions of the organ systems. A lot of times too, you'll see videos embedded that will help you out with things. Let me see if I can find a good, here's some of those labeled pictures that will be included for you to help you locate things. So these are going to look, like I said, a lot like the lecture activities that we're doing because they're very similar. But these track along with your lab packets, and they do say, I'll note for you, exercise number 2. So that's number 2 in the lab packet. If I jump down here, let's see what number we're on over here. Exercise number 6 and number 7, for example. So 2 questions. I've got text here to help me out, and then I've got some great videos to help me out with learning these things and labeling them. So the guided learning activities are what's going to help you to fill in the lab worksheets. And for those of you who have Dr. Adams as your lab instructor, she's also going to be helping with those, and we're going to have some class time together each week. This week it'll be on Wednesday. We'll have some class time together where we go through and work on those worksheets a little bit there. So that's those guided lab activities. Let me scroll down. Where we all want to make sure that we go to as soon as possible is this link right here, to enroll in Visible Body. So whether you have me for your lab instructor or Dr. Adams for your lab instructor, it doesn't matter. You are still going to enroll in Visible Body. So Visible Body, I'm going to pull up the site that, that you guys see when you enroll in it. Give me a moment. When you enroll in Visible Body, so when I click on the link to go to Visible Body and I give them my information, right now, select that you want to start a 2-week free trial. I have codes coming from the bookstore that I'm going to pass along to you guys. So please don't pay $50 right now because the school is paying that for you. I will get you codes sent as soon as possible. When you say you want to start your 2-week free trial, it's going to take you here. So we're on the assignments page. Each week, it's broken down or it's organized for you in what you should be doing that week. So here we are in week 1. I'll mention as a crash course for you, the only things that are graded are things with the little asterisk. So things that are worth a score are here in the asterisk. So by Friday, we've got 2 assignments in Visible Body that we have to complete. We also have an assignment in Blackboard. So here's just a little place marker to remind you, hey, go to Blackboard, make sure you get there. But notice the other things that we have in this folder here. The worksheet that you'll be completing for this week. Let's see if it loads this one as nicely as it did my other stuff here. Yep. Here's your lab worksheet for week number 1. Again, we're going to want to print this out and fill this in using those lessons. So there's my worksheet for lab for week number 1, all the activities that you're completing. Let me go back. That online guided lesson that I showed you guys that had those labeled pictures, that had those videos, here's a link to that right here. And then there's going to sometimes be these things called practice. And practice is going to be your way of basically just playing around with visible body to work on locating where different bones are, work on locating where things like the heart or the lungs or some of the abdominal organs are located. So anytime you see a practice, notice when you click on it, it'll say it's ungraded. You're not going to get any credit for doing this. But when we do our lab sessions together and we're looking at stuff, I'm going to pull up these practice things and we're going to rotate them all around to have a whole lot of fun. Let me see if I can get it to load fast for me. Yeah, somebody wanted me to click on it anyway. I will warn you, visible body goes a little bit slow. It's a little bit angry at me. My computer is humming like crazy. Yeah, so Gloria said yours never loaded. It might be that your computer is maxed out on what all you have going on. Visible body takes a lot of juice, a lot of energy here. Okay, so this is a skeleton. Let me just show you guys. For week 1, we are needing to learn the names of the bones of the skeleton and their location. So when I'm using my roller wheel, by the way, I'm zooming in. I want to know the name of this bone right here. Let's pretend I don't know. When I click on it, notice that it shows me the name of this bone is the humerus. Or I'm going to click on over here. I want to know the name of this one. This one up here on the thumb side is the radius. Maybe I want to learn the names of some of these little bones that are inside here, but I can't really see them because they're covered up with connective tissue. Down here at the bottom, I can see a little dissect tool. When I click on that and then I start clicking on things, they're going to start disappearing. So I'm going to disappear away some of my, my ligaments down in here. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer and I can see things a little bit better. So if I turn off my dissect, now I can see that this little guy over here is one of my carpal bones called the scaphoid. Or this little carpal bone down here in the middle, that one's called capitate. So the big idea is to know with visible body right now is this dissect option down here. I can get rid of stuff that is blocking my ability to see. So I get rid of all my ligaments here, just want those bones. I can cut it all off. Say I accidentally cut off my hip bone. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. I need that bone. I can go back here into history and I can click undo. Let's get that bone back. Now it's back for me, and now I can figure out what its name is. Oh, that bone is called the ilium. I know that that was a super fast crash course. I do want you guys to try to play with this a little bit. By the way, I'm using my roller wheel for anyone who cares. On my mouse, I'm using my roller wheel to zoom out here. So here is the action plan to get us ready on Wednesday. I'm going to go through and we're going to do some lab stuff together. What I want you guys to do between now and Wednesday, let me go back to Blackboard. Between now and Wednesday, the first thing that I want you guys to do is I want you to enroll in your course Visible Body site. So click there, start your 2-week trial, create an account with them. Then every other time when you're trying to do homework, you'll use this link right here to get inside Visible Body. So step number 1, let's enroll in Visible Body. Step number 2, I want us to start playing with it. So what I mean by playing with it, when you log in, you're gonna be on this main page right here. We go into week number 1. There's a video created by one of the lab coordinators that talks about Visible Body. Give that a quick watch. Or if you'd rather just read about things, you can click here and read a document that describes things. I want you to download your worksheet. I want you to complete as much as you can with that guided lesson. And then I want you to start playing. because when we come together on Wednesday, we're going to spend a lot of time playing in the atlas. So finding our organs, naming our structures, doing those kind of things. The same kind of things that you will do in that homework assignment. I went overtime. You guys are troopers for sticking with me. Thank you for those of you that were able to stick around. I apologize, I talk too much. Let me browse through the chat here and make sure that I can address questions that we have. Yeah, so I see a couple of times in here. Yeah, visible body is just slow. So do plan on it taking a little bit of time to load. Maybe try not to load too many things at once to see if maybe that helps with things. If you don't know if you have me for lab as well as lecture, let me show you in Blackboard the quick and dirty way to figure out who your lab instructor is. When you're in Start Here, for any of my friends that also have a little note about Dr. Tracy Adams in the Start Here folder, she's going to be your other lab resource. She's going to technically be teaching your lab. It doesn't really change anything from the way that your course is structured. We use this exact same homework assignments, the exact same tests in every lab section on campus. So if you don't know if you have Dr. Adams or just me, check out Start Here. If you see information about Dr. Adams, she will be assisting you with lab, and she's going to have some sessions on Fridays, some office hour sessions there. Let me see what else I've got in here. Ashley asked if Dr. Adams is your lab instructor, can you still come to my lab stuff? Absolutely. You are welcome to pop in or not pop in. You can go to both sets of lab sessions. So feel free, if you're not technically in my lab, I don't care. You're welcome to come to my lab sessions as well. And the access code, Cindy is correct that I'm going to give you a code when the bookstore passes along to me. It'll actually give you 2 years of access to Visible Body. So we're just doing the 2 weeks free right now to hold us over until I get all those codes emailed out to you. So be watching your email. I'm hoping that the bookstore gets me the codes by the end of the week. So I'm hoping to email that to your MyTCC email account. You should get your code to get you 2 years of access. And in general, Visible Body is a study resource except for those assignments. So let me go back to Visible Body here. See how I've got a couple of things right here that have stars next to them? These are graded assignments that you must complete. If you don't complete them, you'll get a 0. The assignments that we have in Visible Body are worth 20% of your lab grade. So most of this stuff in here is study. Assignments are for a grade, just like those Blackboard assignments are. Nicole asked, we have to know all the bones in week 1. Yes. Welcome to Anatomy and Physiology. We have to learn the names of all the bones in the body in week 1. So start playing around with Visible Body with those skeletons. I mentioned it this morning. You guys are in luck because you're taking this class in the fall. They're going to start selling cheap skeletons at Walmart and home decor stores. Go pick up a cheap skeleton. It's not going to have all the bone markings we're learning, but you will be surprised at how many it does have. So if you are a hands-on learner, I know I've got several hands-on learners that have emailed me being concerned that we're not in class. Go get yourself a skeleton from Walmart or Hobby Lobby. I had a bunch in my office from the store called At Home. Grab yourself a cheap little skeleton, and then you'll have hands-on learning for that. Let me check and see. Yeah, so to answer the question again, if you're in Dr. Adams' lab, you are always welcome at my sessions. Do not care. Gloria, if you're really having trouble with it loading, maybe the other option would be to try another web browser. I don't know if Visible Body plays nicer with different web browsers. I would say try Chrome or Firefox would be the 2 I would try using to see if they work better. Oh, awesome. And Olivia says she's got a huge poster of the human body in her room. That's excellent. Any other last minute pressing questions? I apologize, I talked so much. Yeah, so Ashley asked about the lab recordings. I need to ask Dr. Adams where she will post hers, but I will post all of mine in the same place. So they will all be in the folder. Here, I'll show you guys, because that's where I'm going to put actually our one from today when it's done processing. Right down here, virtual office hours. When I click here, right down here at the bottom, resources from virtual office hours. If you missed this morning and you would like some more information like we did this morning, here's a link to that session. After today's session, give me a couple of hours. I'll try to get this one posted too. So you're just going to start to see recordings that are piling up here in this resources from virtual office hours. So check it out there. I'll put a little note for you about what we covered during that session. That's again in the virtual office hours area in the folder resources that are there. All right, I am going to pause our recording and stick around for just a couple more minutes here. Here's a quick shout out or reminder to say that tomorrow I will be back in our course classroom from 12 to 1:30, so back in this space. I am not going to have anything planned, so if you would like to talk about specific questions that you have from lecture or lab, or if you're still having trouble finding resources, please come tomorrow. So again, I'll be here tomorrow from 12 to 1:30. Stop by, let me know how I can help you out. It was great to have you all here today, and good luck here in week 1.